Hi there, welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today's yoga class is all about starting afresh, using this opportunity on the mat as a clean slate. Remember that a fresh start is not a place, it's a state of mind. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify if you need to, rest whenever you need to. You ready? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set up for today's class, standing with our legs open nice and wide, setting yourself up more or less in the middle of the mat, all 10 toes looking towards the front of the mat, pinky toes, and maybe the outer quadrant of the feet set right up along the outer edges of your mat. Stand up nice and tall, start squeezing the energy between the inner thighs together, tuck the tailbone under, pull up the belly button, and start with a little heel lift. Peeling your heels off the mat, taking a little stretch into the arches of your feet, and then coming back down. Do that a few times, just starting to wake up the energy in the feet, starting to get that tingling sensation into the legs. And if this feels good, maybe you can start waking up the energy in the rest of the body by floating up the arms, maybe into a T-frame, maybe at about shoulder height, and then back down. Start to sync your movements to your breath. Maybe giving me a nice deep inhale as you float up onto the heels and open up your arms into T, and then a nice soft exhale as you come back down. Start to get in tune with your body and your mind. Then end for me with your feet anchored. Float the hands behind you, maybe just reaching along through your fingertips, or finding a fist by drawing the two palms as close together as you can, interlacing the hands, drawing the two shoulder blades nice and close. If this feels good, take a big breath in and then start arcing slightly through the spine and drop your fisted hands down between your bum cheeks, taking a gentle heart-opening stretch. Keeping your chin line just gently in neutral. Maybe peeling back up into a high stand and floating all the way up onto the heels and pausing here, keeping that fisted position and trying to find a sense of balance and control. Soften through the feet, uninterlace your hands, place your hands on the top of your thighs. Give me a soft, almost sit back into a midway squat or a soft chair-like line. Take a big breath in, allowing for an actual relaxed spine. Maybe a nice long inhale for 10. And then on an exhale, just drop your right shoulder to the floor and pause here. Feeling that delicious stretch into the whole shoulder area on the right, maybe peeking over the left shoulder and just pausing. Maybe gently rocking the weight in your feet. So bringing it forward into the balls and the toes and then rocking back into the heels. Inhale to come back to center. Pausing here for a bit, just hanging out. And then on a nice long lazy exhale, you're going to drop the left shoulder towards the floor. You're going to look over the right shoulder and you're just going to hang here for a little bit, taking nice deep breaths, maybe getting a gentle sway back and forth into those feet. Starting to see where you're holding onto your tension and beginning to gently move into those areas of the body. Easing your way back to center, you're going to soften through the arms. Keep your knees nice and bendy and just give me a gentle ragdoll sway side to side. Keeping your belly button gently pulled into center and a nice relaxed spine. We're going to come into a gentle forward fold from here, maybe placing your fingertips on the mat as you begin to bend and extend dynamically through the legs. Or maybe you'd like to place the hands on the tops of your thighs as you play with that bend and extend through the legs. You're going to ease your way from here into a 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. Hands stacking underneath your shoulders. Knees stacking underneath your hip points. And for your first 4-point kneel, tuck your toes under so that you're stretching into the arches of your feet. Try to find a nice long tabletop line through your neck and your spine. Tuck your toes under and hover your knees just off the floor by contracting strongly through the core. Exhale, hit a down dog frame, and then begin moving dynamically between the hovering knee position and the down dog for a few repetitive rounds. Just getting the energy to wake up, starting to activate your core, starting to get the back turn of the legs to gently beginning to stretch and release. Pause in your down dog stretch, trying to anchor through the heels as best you can. And then think of dropping down into your hovering knee position, but actually anchoring softly through the knees this time. Keep your toes tucked under and come into a high kneeling camel-like frame. Take a big breath in. Float the arms out into T. And maybe begin to curve gently through the spine. If you need to, you can support the lower back as you come into your gentle camel. Or float the arms into a gentle T, activating into the tops of your thighs, into the lower belly area, opening up into your chest center. Then relax the arms at your sides, nod your chin to your chest, and release the bridges of your feet to the floor. We're going to try to stay on the bridges of our feet as we play with the next round. Come back into your 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. This time we're going to hover the knees and down dog it, staying on the tops of our feet. So working into the ankles and into those unused portions of the feet. Push off your hands, push off the bridges of your feet, hover your knees off the floor, and then find a soft down dog-like frame, pushing off the fronts of your toes and start to oscillate dynamically between the two. If this feels too uncomfortable for you, just repeat the toe tucked under version we played with previously. Try to end in your down dog. Hold it, really working the tops of those tootsies. Then relax down into a high kneeling frame. Come back into your camel. Peel up, just ragdoll style. And just maybe fist the hands this time, dropping them down between your bum cheeks. As you curve gently through the spine, trying to bump your hips slightly forward. So you're thinking hips over knees. Get that delicious stretch into your lower belly. Feel the tops of your thighs taking a nice stretch. Feel the chest opening up. Then uninterlace the hands. Drop the arms heavy at your side. Nod your chin towards your chest. Tuck your toes under, so stretching once again into the arches of the feet. Think bum to heel, so sit back and then just gently extend the arms out in front. So we're almost coming into a toe breaker, extended child stretch. Trying to have the arms long and extended in front of you, maybe dropping through the arms with your head and trying to connect your forehead gently to the mat, keeping those toes softly tucked under so that you can really feel the stretch into the arches of your feet. Then keeping your hands long and lengthened, find a little marble underneath your nose, start to roll it away from you to the front of the mat and just look off the front of the mat, almost coming into a puppy child toe breaker hybrid. Pause here for a few soft breaths. And then relax your feet. Come onto the bridges of your feet as you bump through 4-point kneeling, coming into a modified kneeling up dog, but not collapsing and hanging off your shoulders. So pushing off the hands, shoulders are nice and strong, core is beautifully braced. Pause here, taking a little stretch into the lower belly. We're going to ease our way from here into a tadpole line. Think soft 4-point kneeling frame as you walk back and start to slide your knees a little bit wider than your feet so that as you walk back, you can sit your bum down between your 2 feet, almost wrapping the feet around your bum. Readjust your feet if you need to, and then reach for your shin bones. Pull your shin bones up to the sky and lengthen through your spine towards the sky as you drop the weight down into the mat through your bum bones. Pause here, take an awesome little stretch in your tadpole. me a few generous breaths here, trying to breathe as deeply as you can into the front of your rib cage. And then maybe ungrab your shins, place your hands on the mat. Think of bringing your knees together, tucking your feet closer together, tucking the toes under, and then sitting back, bum to heel with the toes tucked under, getting a nice stretch into the arches of your feet. Either just staying here with your hands on the top of your thighs, or maybe coming once more into that fisted position, thinking of trying to float the two shoulder blades and maybe the elbows closer along the midline of the body, maybe raising your fisted hands up to the sky so that you're getting more work, more stretch through the shoulders and into the chest area. And come into a high kneel. Relax the bridges of your feet into the mat. Sit back into thunderbolt, bum to heel. Invert your hands, drop them palm down to the mat in front of you. Just find a position that is relatively comfortable for you, but affords you a good stretch into the wrist and the carpal tunnel area. And gently begin bumping the weight side to side. So you're leaning off center, getting more stretch into one wrist line, one forearm, and then bumping it over into the opposite arm. Keep your belly button gently pulled into center as you play with that slight rocking motion into the body. Ease your way softly back to center. Peel up, maybe coming onto the tips of your fingers. Tuck your toes under. See if you can come into a little haunch hold. Peeling your knees up off the floor. Contract through the core. Walk your hands back. Find your haunch line. Maybe keeping your fingers on the mat, or maybe extending your arms out in front and taking a little haunch reach here. Give me a few generous deep breaths, trying to breathe deeply into all 4 dimensions of your rib cage. So breathing not only out to the sides, but to the front and to the back of your ribs as well. Then relax back down to the mat. Maybe walk your way forward, coming into a down dog-like frame, but start transitioning into Svananda, blissful dog, by taking a soft, playful, rotational movement into your knees and your hips. Just keep it really soft, really playful, really blissful. And stop in a little down dog stretch, trying to pike up your bum nice and high to the ceiling, feeling that stretch into the arms and the legs, trying to relax down through the bridges of your feet. Then with a softer knee line as you need, you're going to gently walk your feet, your legs forward, trying to end for me in a soft little forward fold with your feet in parallel or 10 toes looking to the front of your mat, maybe gently bending and extending through the legs if you need to. Maybe you can hold still. If this feels good, maybe bend your elbows, hold on to the forearms, bend through the knees, think chest to knees, and just hang here for a bit. So you've got your chest and maybe your lower belly just softly touching the top of your thighs. Crown is nice and heavy, elbows are nice and heavy. Either stay here with your bent knee or give me an extended leg line and more space between your chest and the tops of your thighs. Maybe playing with a gentle rocking motion into the balls and the heels of your feet, and just chilling out here for a few soft breaths. Then morph from here into a tabletop line, maybe placing your hands on the top of your thighs, and try to give me the longest line through your tailbone, your spine, and your neck. Not dropping the head through the tabletop line, so trying to forge a long line through the body. Take a few generous breaths here, and then soften through your knees. Peel up, ragdoll style, leading with your ribs. You're going to take an overhead stretch, grabbing opposite hand to wrist. So just standing in a comfortable parallel stance, float your hands overhead, grabbing, let's grab right wrist with the left hand. Take a big breath in, and then pull that right wrist overhead to the left And pause here, taking a little stretch. Breathe as deeply as you can into the right side of your ribs. Inhale, peel back to center. Exhale, pull one more time, off center to the left. Inhale, bring it back. Let's do that twice more. Starting to sync your movement gently to your breathing cycle. And then let's change hands. Grab the left wrist with the right hand. Big inhale in. On the exhale, tug off center to the right and pause. Breathe as deeply as you can into the left side of your ribs. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, tug. Hold that stretch. Breathe as deeply as you can into the left side of your ribs. Inhale, come back to center. Let's do that one last time. Ease your way gently back to center. Drop the arms at your side and check that your feet are still in parallel, all 10 toes looking to the front of your mat, stacking more or less underneath your hips, so readjust your feet if you need to. Place your hands on your hips, and then find a soft focal point or a drishti on the wall in front of you, and see if you can bring your right knee up to table, so more or less at about hip height, and see if you can extend that leg into a D position. Uttita Hasta Padangustasana D. Then take this floating right leg and take a big lunge step back with it. Sweeping the arms out in front. You can drop the back knee, shin and foot to the floor if you need to. So either low lunge with your back foot used as support, or you can come into a high lunge line. Maybe playing with that weight, dragging it forwards and backwards and starting to open up generously into the groin area, into the inner thighs. Then hold your lunge stretch, whether you're in the high or the low position. If you are in the high position, keep sending energy back through that back heel so that your weight distribution is equal on both legs. Then relax your back knee, the shin and the foot, and sweep back. Think of coming through your hip line, maybe extending the front leg, fingertips either softly reaching behind you or maybe connected to the mat if you need to. At first, try to keep all 5 toes of the lead leg on the mat, so you're really stretching into the ankle and the tops of your feet. Then maybe start to peel the toes off. Sit back further, trying to sit and wrap your bum cheeks around the back heel. Sitting up nice and tall. If this feels uncomfortable, you could perhaps reach for a block or maybe a scatter cushion if you have one handy, and just tuck it underneath your bum on the left to support your frame. Take a little seat here. Maybe you'd like to gently walk forward, thinking head to knee, Anew Sirsasana. Just take a little lean in here. Don't worry too much about trying to get too low to the floor. Just fold forward softly, make your chest nice and heavy to the top of your thighs, and breathe as deeply as you can into the back of your ribs. Then peel up into your high seat. The leg that's extended in front of you, you're going to sweep it behind you. You're going to cross that foot. You're going to overlay that foot into the right leg that you've already got there, and you're going to sit back into a little crossed foot thunderbolt. And it might feel really uncomfortable, so you might need to wiggle around before you can situate yourself and just get that stretch going into your feet. You're going to activate a whole lot of maybe new little pain points in your feet that you didn't know existed. So just enjoy the stretch. Just sit up nice and tall and give yourself a couple of moments here. Then gently find your way from here back into 4-point kneeling. Feet coming into parallel, find your way into down dog and start moving playfully through the knees and the hips as you find Svananda, blissful dog. Give yourself a couple of carefree moments here. And then maybe hold the down dog stretch working into the arms and the legs simultaneously. And then gently begin to walk your way forward, bending the knees as much as you need to come into a soft parallel stance with all 10 toes looking to the front of the mat. Maybe bending and extending as you find Uttanasana, hands on the floor, or maybe on your shin bones, or maybe on the tops of your thighs, depending on where you're comfortable today. And then maybe bending through the knees, thinking chest to knees, bending the elbows, holding onto the forearms, and just taking a little hang here. Keep that bent leg position at first, thinking chest to knees, and just pause here. If that feels good, start to gently extend the legs and see if you can hold an extended leg stretch. Maybe rocking the weight gently between the balls and the heels of your feet. Then soften through the knees as much as you need to peel up into a tabletop line, maybe placing the hands on your hip bones and just trying to forge a long tabletop line through your neck and your spine. Peel up. You're going to grab opposite hand to wrist. So let's grab left wrist with the right hand. Floating your hands overhead, take a big breath in and then pull the left wrist off center to the right and pause here in a stretch. Inhale, come back to center. We'll do that 2 more times. Exhale as you tug off center and hold. Then maybe give yourself a breath or 2 here, breathing as deeply as you can into the left side of your ribs before coming back to center. Then change hands, grabbing your right wrist with your left hand, tug off center, pausing here, giving me maybe a few gentle breath cycles, breathing nicely and deeply into the right side of your ribs. Inhale to peel back to center. Last time. As you find your way gently back to center, drop the arms at your side and find that drishti, that focal point on the wall in front of you. Think of bringing up your left knee to the tabletop position, maybe staying here, maybe hands on your hips, maybe extending and kicking the leg out, using your powerhouse, so drawing up the energy from the knee towards your belly button line to hold that stretch. And then take a big lunge step back, maybe floating the arms out in front and rocking the weight gently back and forth, or maybe you'd like to come into a low lunge and just play here, gently leaning forwards and backwards. So just see where you need to be. Then relax your back knee, shin and foot. Sweep the arms behind you. At first, try to keep all 5 toes on the mat. So either sweeping the arms behind you or fingertips to the mat. Just keep your belly button gently pulled into center and allow for a relaxed back line. Then peel all 5 toes off, point the toes up to the ceiling and try to sit back, bum to heel. Use a prop on the right if you need it. And then just give me a gentle forward fold. Thinking modified Janusasana, head to knee. Maybe just taking a soft reverent bow here. Give yourself a few soft breath cycles. And then when you're ready, think of modifying this frame, sweeping your lead leg behind you, crossing your right foot over your left, readjusting as you sit down into the Jasana, and just taking a couple of moments here, maybe subtly shifting your weight side to side, wriggling around and getting into those tight little ouchy, owie spots in the feet as you play. Alrighty, we're going to find our way from here onto the belly. To do that, you're going to ease your way into 4-point kneeling, and we'll work a modified chaturanga today to get onto the belly from your 4-point kneeling frame. Just think of gently hugging the elbows in, leaning the weight forward over your wrists if you can. Come down as slowly as you can, so loading through the arms, feel those biceps, those triceps working. Bleed onto your belly, maybe sliding the fingertips slightly in front of you so that your fingertips are just in front of your wrist line. You're going to come into a cobra, so just gently connect your forehead to the mat. Pretend you've got a little marble underneath your nose. Start to roll the marble away from you to the front end of the mat. Either pausing here in a baby cobra with your bottom ribs still touching the mat, elbows squeezing into center, or start to give me a little playful shrug and drop through the shoulders, working in an almost serpentine fashion as you find Sahaya Bhujangasana, spontaneous cobra. Then come to stillness in your baby cobra and see if you can transition from here into an up dog, staying on the bridges of your feet. So start pushing into your palms. You can use a bent knee at first if you need to find your way up. Think of that kneeling up dog we did. Then start to bring your knees and your shins off the floor, brace more through the core. Maybe tuck your toes under now. Send energy back into the heels of your feet. Maybe gently rocking your up dog back and forth. Keeping strong through the core, strong through the back, strong through the arms and the shoulders. Find your way into a down dog. Pause here, take a little stretch. Giving yourself a couple of moments, almost using your down dog as you would child to take a little rest. And if this is too much for you, you can come into child pose and just pause there. You're going to change your orientation on the mat from here. So from your down dog frame, you're going to take a big lunge step forward, just sweeping into a wide prasarita with your feet nice and squared up. Come into a high, wide-legged stance, prasarita padottanasana, all 10 toes looking in the same direction, sending weight or weight bearing right around from your big toe, wrapping around all the way to the heels of your feet. Stand up nice and tall, tuck your tailbone under, pull your belly button in, and just relax the arms to the tops of your thighs. Then think of gently starting to bend from the waist, brushing the hands down the top of your thighs as you come into a tabletop line, maybe pausing here. If this feels good and you've got more to give, you can drop your head through the tabletop line, reaching with your hands for the outer quadrant of your feet as you just hang the crown nice and heavy to the floor. If this feels good, keep your handhold on the right and take a little soft twist to the right, crossing the left hand over the right and reaching with both hands to grab on the outer quadrant of the right foot. Hold that stretch and maybe begin dynamically bending and extending through the right knee. Maybe ending in a soft lunge line on the right and holding that stretch. Keep tugging on the outer quadrant of your right foot. Then change up your side lunge. Extend the right leg and bend the left leg, keeping your hold on the outside of the right foot. Then softly find your way back to center, maybe fingertips on the mat. Bring your heels in, allowing the feet to softly splay out at maybe 45. Drop your bum bones down towards the mat, ragdoll style peel up, and come into a little goddess line, making an almost cactus frame through your arms, thinking of squeezing the two shoulder blades together and opening up generously through your chest. And then maybe change it up and find your way into an eagle line from here. Float the left elbow in front of you, stays at about shoulder height. Then overlay the right arm into the left. I'm coming slightly off center so that you can still see my face, but you can position yourself just behind your hands. And then you're going to just hold that little eagle stretch, beautiful stretch, into the shoulder area. Then trying to keep those eagle arms, you're going to pivot on the back leg and you're going to readjust your feet, taking a little lunge step to the front of your mat, bringing your feet in flush, or you can keep them in parallel as you sit back into a modified eagle chair. Just think weight into your bum and your heels. Take a modified little chair seat here. Then gently fold forward, draping your hands on the mat, giving yourself a few generous breaths here. Maybe this time, as you come into the forward fold, if your body is nice and open, you can maybe think of wrapping your hands gently around your calves, trying to almost think of drawing your calves closer to your nose, and then experiment with the weight bearing in your feet and rock the weight forwards and backwards, just trying to find a position that works for you. Then when you're ready, you're going to find your way from here back into that cross-footed thunderbolt. Relax your hands to the mat, bend your knees as much as you need to, and take a step back. As you step back, cross one foot over the other, and just gently sit back. I've got left foot over right. So take a little seat back, and whichever foot you have on top, I've got my left foot on top, so I'm going to float my left arm overhead, reaching for the sky. Then bend that elbow and place your hand palm down between your two shoulder blades. Float your right arm overhead. Bend that elbow softly, reach for your left elbow, and then tug the left elbow into center and just pause here. Trying to breathe as deeply as you can into the left side of your ribs, either staying here or maybe sweeping your right arm underhand, bringing your hands into a little bear grip, pulling up with one hand, tugging down with the other, or maybe using a belt or a strap to make that connection between your two hands. Just give yourself a couple of breaths here. Holding your modified cow face Gomukhasana stretch. Give yourself a few generous breaths here. Then unbind the hands and try to keep the cross of your feet. You're going to come into a modified child. Maybe peeling your way onto the forearms. Maybe floating your elbows wide, stacking one palm on top of the other. Thinking forward to the back of your palms. A little bit of compression into your lower belly. And you've still got one foot softly crossed into the other. Giving yourself a couple of relaxed breath cycles here. And then when you're ready, gently bleed your way back into 4-point kneeling. Uncross those feet behind you. We're going to work that modified chaturanga. Maybe you'd like to bring the feet off the mat this time, or maybe you'd like to keep them on the mat. Bend your elbows. Hug them into center. Come down as slowly as you can, working those biceps, working those triceps as you come down to the mat. Hover off the floor for a second, then maybe release to your belly, relax the feet. Maybe sliding your fingertips slightly forward, relaxing your forehead to the mat, and setting yourself for a little cobra. Find that little marble underneath your nose, start rolling it away, keep the elbows tucked in. Start articulating up, stop with your bottom ribs still connected. Or maybe you want to play with that shrug and release. If you are playing with a spontaneous cobra, make sure that you're working your lift and drop on both sides. Ease your way back to your baby cobra. Start extending, coming into a full cobra. Then maybe an up dog by bringing your knees off the floor. Then try to tuck your toes under, still in the up dog frame, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, and then begin to rock your weight forwards and backwards in your up dog hold. Keep that core strong. All right, transition into your down dog. Try to hold the stretch. Maybe you'd like to slide or creep your feet in a little bit so that you can get more drop down through the back of your heels. Take a breath or two here. And then when you're ready, you're going to change your orientation on the mat, taking a little lunge step forward between the hands, Coming into your wide standing straddle, hands just resting on the top of your thighs. Tuck your tailbone under, pull your belly button in. Give me the longest spine that you can. And then when you're ready, start brushing your hands down the top of your thighs. Maybe pausing first in your tabletop line. Check that the toes are all looking in the same orientation. Check that the weight bearing is equal around your feet. You're good. Start reaching down further, maybe trying to reach around the outer quadrant of both feet. Hang your head like a little bell down towards the floor. Then keep your left hand where it is. Take a twist softly towards it and overlay the right arm on top, or rather right hand on top of left, and tug with both hands, holding that slight off-center twist. Then maybe begin to dynamically bend and extend the left knee. So you're coming into a modified side lunge and you're still holding with both hands around the outer quadrant of the left foot. Then bend the left knee and hold that lunge. Then switch it up. Bend the right knee, extend the left leg, and still keep your hand hold on the outside of the left foot, breathing as deeply as you can into the right side of your ribs. Lead your way softly back to center, maybe placing both sets of hands on the mat. Bring your heels in slightly, maybe staying your feet out softly at 45. Drop down through your bum bones and ragdoll style peel up, finding your way into Goddess Uttaka Konasana. Little cactus frame through the arms, thinking of squeezing the energy between the two shoulder blades together, opening up and expanding beautifully through the chest. And then let's set up our eagle. Bring the right arm in first this time. Overlay left arm into right. Find your little eagle bind looking through your interlaced hands to the wall at the opposite end of the room. Pause here for a few breaths and then take a little step to the front of the mat, trying to keep your eagle bind. So start pivoting through the feet. Take a step up. Either feet flush against each other or maybe a soft parallel line as you sit back into your eagle chair. Give yourself a couple of moments here and then softly unbind, fold forward. Maybe you'd like to reach for the calves, make your crown nice and heavy to the floor. Find the Uttanasana, the forward fold that works for you. When you're ready, you're going to find your way into that modified Thunderbolt Vajrasana. Maybe softening through the knees, placing your fingertips on the mat. Stepping your legs back. This time I'm going to cross my right foot and overlay it on top of my left. And I'm going to gently sit back into Thunderbolt. Wiggle around. And of course, if it does not feel comfortable for you having those feet overlaid, maybe just bring them into a soft parallel line. Find your seat, start activating into those little uncomfortable spots into your feet. I've got the right foot on top, so I'm going to float my right arm overhead. Bend at the elbow, place your hand palm down between the two shoulder blades, and then reach overhead with your left hand and see if you can tug the right elbow in closer towards the midline. Stay here, or come into an underhand grip. Give yourself a few generous breaths here, and if you did manage to make the bind, pull up with the top hand, tug down with the bottom hand. Give yourself a couple of deep breaths here. Starting to wind down our practice for today. And when you're ready, gently undo that bind, keeping the cross of your feet if you can. You're going to find your way into a modified child. So maybe bleeding down onto the forearms. Then allow your elbows to track wide, stack one palm on top of the other. Rest your forehead on the back of your hands and just give yourself a couple of quiet moments here, trying to keep the cross of your feet if you can. There might also be a little bit of gentle compression, maybe a little bit of massaging into your lower belly area. Maybe allow your third eye, that little spot between your two eyebrows, your Anya chakra, an opportunity to get a gentle massage by using the knobbly bits of your knuckles or the back of your hands to just gently press into that pressure point between the two eyebrows. And when you're ready to come out of this frame, gently peel up, maybe uncrossing the feet behind you. Maybe you want to bring the knees together, the feet together, and sit all the way back in Thunderbolt. Or maybe you'd like to assist your Thunderbolt this time, opening up the knees, taking a block, feeding the block through and taking a seat on your block. See where you'd like to be. You're going to just sit up nice and tall, and you could always come into a cross-legged seated pose if you prefer. We're going to end with Brahmari, bee breath. So taking your stance, let's just sit up nice and tall and overlay one palm on top of the other. Ladies, right hand on top of left. Gents, right hand on top of left with your thumb tips just softly touching. Give me the longest spine that you can. Drop the shoulders away from your ears. And let's end with a little breathing pattern called Brahmari or bee breath. You're going to inhale through your nose with a soft, almost inaudible sound. And then on the exhale, you're going to softly make a buzzing or a humming sound like a bee. And you're going to hold that buzz or that hum for as long as you've got exhale. And then you're going to start working a rolling, breathing bee breath, which is going to sound something like this. Maybe close your eyes, take your focus inward as you get that breathing pattern going, and begin to focus on the sensation or the vibration that happens at the end of that sound. Give yourself at least 2 or 3 more rounds of Brahmari bee breath. As you focus on the sensation of that vibration of the sound, begin to feel like each cell, each and every cell in your body is beginning to vibrate with excited energy, pepping you up as you begin anew with your fresh start, your clean slate. As you come to the end of your last breath cycle, keeping your eyes closed and maybe your focus inward, bring your hands to prayer in front of your heart and perhaps close off your practice for today, allowing a gentle push of energy between the two hands, echoing the vibration that you just created within your body, sustaining you for the remainder of your fresh start. Namaste to you. Thank you so much for coming out and joining me today. Hope you enjoyed today's class. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Shoot me your comments below. Make sure your notifications for this channel are on and be ready for playtime on the mat tomorrow. Till then, keep it light.